Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Immersive Podcast. Today we have another special guest, Altea. Altea, would you like to introduce yourself to this wonderful audience that we are building?
Yes, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Very grateful to be here. So I am a light language channeler, but more than that, I kind of like help and assist people become the best possible version of themselves. I work in the quantum realm. I work in the Akashic realm as well. So I assist people with healing and neutralizing timeline and past previous parallel lifetimes as well. And then I kind of like train light workers too. So I train people to do what I do. I assist people to open up their psychic gifts, senses, intuition, or their clairs, working with their cognizance, and just really whatever is needed at the moment in time for the individual that comes to me to assist them in raising their frequency and, in their own ascension journey and path. So I like to think of myself as a multidimensional channel. And, we're all infinite beings of light. So just assisting people
Beacon
tap
of
into their
light.
potential.
Well, you said that so well, and I just had this feeling that I don't want to introduce her. She's got it in her to tell me who she is, and you said it so perfect. You just described such a beautiful being of light, as you said. So thank you, Altea. And I love how you tied in some practical things there. A lot of people may hear she's a light language channeler. What is that? They might be afraid to ask themselves or the person they're watching this with, what does that mean? And you explained it so well in the way you tied it into just helping people become the best version of themselves. Like that's something everybody can wrap their head around. You don't have to be a part of any fringe community or anything like that to do so. So I love the way that you said that. And Althea, you're here today from South Africa. Is that correct?
Yes, right.
Awesome. Tampa, Florida. So this truly is the new earth. We really are all connected. And I just want to take a few moments to shout out GFL, Galactic Federation of Light clothing. The link is in the bio. Clothing for light workers. Altea is rocking some of their clothing right now. Great stuff. I did a recent episode with Doton and Tavel from GFL, the founders. They have been in the fashion business for a very long time. They're doing some really cool things involving photonically charged clothing that has the science of frequency behind it and such. So go ahead and check that out. And one other shout out, of course, Unified TV. Link is in the bio. Streaming is $20 a month, and they are just a great network for truth. We all have the Netflixes and the Primes and the Hulus of the world on our face, but there's places to get your true information, and I don't know, just check out Unified and see if you might like some of the free stuff that's on there. Some stuff I wanted to talk to you today about. Altea, obviously you have a few events coming up that I've spoken about recently. One of them's the Starseed Conference. Do you have any other events coming up? I think I saw something about a retreat in Costa Rica. You're really traveling around the world these days, aren't you?
Yes.
Tell me what's on Altea's plan coming up.
Yes, I've got a few things coming up. I've got Disclosure Fest in just over a week, I think, and I'll be doing a workshop there, and I will be doing one-on-ones actually at a lower rate. So if you are at Disclosure Fest, come find me because I am going to be doing activations and one-on-ones, and my workshop is on Saturday. The week after that, I'm taking one-on-ones in LA, and I'm doing a workshop in Pacific Palisades right next to Santa Monica, which will be a light language activation as well, as from 4 to 6 p.m. And then the 7/7, like you mentioned, in San Diego, La Jolla, we are doing, it's a Starseed conference. So that's going to be incredible. There's going to be vendors, panelists, speakers. It's just, it's going to blow your mind off because this is the 5th Starseed conference and it's happening in person. It's been online up till now. And then, I've got a few things coming up in the next few months. I've got a Abundance Mentorship. That one's online. All my services are still available online as well. And then my Costa Rica retreat in November from the 17th to the 22nd, 6 days, 5 nights. You're going to be getting light language activations every single day. We're going to be working with the elements and doing dragon body activations. We're going to also be working with the sacred shamanic plant of happy and cacao, and we will also be immersing ourselves in the rainforest. We're going to be going to waterfalls, connecting to the elements, and really just like a beautiful space to share all together. And the reason why I was divinely guided to choose Costa Rica, because at this moment in time there is almost like a quantum loop and a portal there that will assist the collective and the individual to clear timelines at a quicker rate.
In Costa Rica, like specifically,
Yeah,
geographically
yeah,
speaking?
Costa Rica
Okay,
specifically
cool.
within the land there. Yeah, it's been open for about 2 years. I think it's going to be open for another year or two. So by you just being there, you're actually catapulting yourself, in like a really high vibrational frequency state and clearing quicker than what you would be doing at any other place in the same amount of time.
That's amazing. So I have a couple questions that just came up about the Costa Rica retreat. So, the portal, I mean, I believe in, the major stargates of the world that I think are kind of there all the time. Some are at the poles, the ones in the Middle East. I believe there is one in, the Southwest United States. Those portals that we talk about, those stargates that seem to be so heavily guarded, heavily, mystified in our culture. Are those permanent in comparison to the one that you're like speaking about now, that Costa Rica portal that's been open for a couple of years and may close in a year? Can you kind of elaborate a little bit on the difference between a portal like that and like the larger Stargate portals that are present always?
So I'm not sure which portals you are talking about.
I thought it's my understanding that, places like the Great Pyramid of Egypt, Sedona, Arizona, Mount Shasta, that there were, natural portals on this planet. Many people, whistleblowers and stuff have kind of alluded to that kind of thing. It just made me kind of think, so are those temporary and such? They open for only a year at a time, etc., such as this Costa Rican portal?
So that's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. They just sent me a visual now. It's very different. So some portals operate on the grid structure of the Earth. Some of them operate on a more individual level per se. So this Costa Rica portal per se is actually operating through the pockets of energies that cross between the ley lines. So what happens is whenever you have something like an astrological event or a numerological event where the ley lines cross, there's kind of like these pockets of energy that open up and the energy comes and goes. Okay, something like the pyramids of Giza is permanently open, and that's actually a Stargate portal. It's different. Okay, something like Mount Shasta would also be, in my opinion, something more like a Stargate portal, although still connected to the Earth grid. So there's a lot of different grids. You'll get your Earth grid, you'll get your galactic grid, you'll get your planetary grid, you'll get your solar system grid. Yeah, it's multidimensional, if it makes sense. I think a lot of people do, like for me, I do a lot of grid work. So I work a lot with the planet, with the ley lines, with the grid, with the portals. And to an extent, also, portal isn't really specifically the exact word, if it makes sense, because
I was gonna, go ahead on that.
Understand the concept behind it, but it would be more of like a wormhole or a time-space continuum, if it makes sense.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
That we would activate and be able to access in these places.
Very well said, and that kind of cleared that up for me. That's interesting. So it kind of, I guess, as a result of grid work and in the collective conscious and the shift in the way that where people are in the ascension, is that something that can contribute to like the opening of said portals in like this one in Costa Rica? Is that something that can kind of start happening more and more as we ascend as a species, or is it predictable? Is it something totally random? Is it rare? I mean,
for sure. I mean, there's going to be a huge, massive activation now at Disclosure Fest. Whenever a lot of, people get together and start working for the collective and from that space of unconditional love, these portals can be activated, these energies can be opened, and things, can expand. So definitely something you're going to be seeing more of. I mean, I know personally a lot of colleagues that travel around the world and consciously activate portals. There's a few, there's actually many all over the world. And it's interesting because everyone has their different methodology and their different way of operating. So it's always nice when I speak to colleagues and see kind of like how they operate and how it works from their side. So for sure, definitely something that we're going to be seeing more in the next coming years.
That's great to hear from you, and I kind of share that belief, but it's more of a belief from my end and something that you might have a little more firsthand knowledge of being in the work that you do. But I definitely believe in some sort of critical mass, something where humanity humanity. That's what we call it in our limited speech. But, the collective needs to reach a certain point, a certain number. People have said 144,000, 1%, 10%, all sorts of different metaphorical numbers to reach a critical mass, quote unquote, of people that are awakened and ready enough for the next level of society to maybe start being integrated into, what is a true level 1 civilization, being introduced to the Galactic Federation, being introduced to an intergalactic society. I really do believe that it's a matter of a slow drip effect where it's a lot of people waking up in their own way, in their own timelines, in their own dimensions, just all over the world, all over time and space. And at a certain point, it can't be turned around. And with these things like, Disclosure Fest, blah, mass meditations, Starseed conferences now happening in person rather than online, people mixing their energy together in person. I think that's just a huge jump, at least as far as my visual is on, the new Earth ascending, the next level, etc. I think it takes numbers, and it's amazing to see it all come together, and it's really awesome to be able to speak to so many people who are so deeply involved with it, such as yourself. You said you do a lot of grid work, energy work, things like that. Can you tell me a little bit? I'm always a little curious about people's take on the DNA upgrade aspect of things. It's just for everybody who's viewing, it's June 11th right now. June 11th. What are what are you picking up on for solar activity, ascension energies, ascension symptoms? Available DNA upgrades, things like that. Is there anything you're kind of picking up on right now for this kind of middle of June?
So we just cleared a very big anger template about 2 weeks ago. So that was released from the collective. There was a lot of anger, a lot of triggering, a lot of irritability that was cleared. We did do quite a big quantum jump towards the end of April. So we accessed the high vibrational frequency baseline as to which people started operating from. So there was a lot of clearing and releasing of residual of that. I do find that equinox and solstice times tend to be very, very unpredictable, if we can put it in that way, because, everyone is moving through their own thing. And again, what happens when there's these openings of energies, people kind of take what they need within their own experience. So someone might need clearing of the solar plexus, someone might need third eye activation, some might need to learn to release attachment. So it's very, very different for everyone. And the best I can say is just to stay grounded, stay present, stay anchored, and stay in a space of surrender as well. Generally, the months that lead up into August are quite powerful for manifestation because of the Lionsgate portal that we have on the 8/8. But before that, there is also the 7/7. So with me, I don't per se necessarily tune in. I just kind of if I need to know something, it'll be sent to me. They'll be like, oh, this is what's going on. Okay, thank you. Or I'll pick up energetically okay, why am I feeling irritated this morning? What's clearing? And then I'll tune in and they'll be like, no, this is what's happening. This is what you're clearing. Yeah. This is the space you need to hold, and things like that. But because we have so many timelines overlapping all at the same time, it's quite difficult to pinpoint and say, oh, this is what's going to happen and that's what's going to happen. But I do think that I'm not particularly informed, but I am aware there are solar flashes and solar flares, and I do think that that's also accelerating the people's experience and the clearing and the ascension process for humanity as a collective.
Yeah, I believe so too. We definitely have dormant DNA lying within us that I think we're all in a different spot. I think we all have abilities such as yourself. You have abilities that I don't have. I might have some abilities you don't have, but I think we all have untapped potential. And a lot of that really might have to do with dormant DNA, upgrades that are done via the sun, upgrades that are done via people like yourself who are doing quantum work, quantum healing, grid work, etc. It's all really important, and it's just now becoming a little bit, I don't want to call it mainstream, because when something becomes mainstream, it kind of tends to get taken over by American capitalism. But I just color me crazy, but 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't see this as such a big movement that was really starting to permeate everyday society in the ways that I see it now. And I love it. I mean, 5 years ago, I wasn't doing this. I was working in an office. I was 100 pounds heavier. I looked out the window and played on a computer all day. I sold cabinets. I was an interior designer. And then I went through that dark night of the soul and just trust falled into, I don't know, I can't do this anymore. I need to serve the collective. I need to seek self. I need to seek inward, and things started to activate within me too. And I'm not there yet. It's new things all the time. My meditations started going from, 20-minute meditations to practicing CE5s to CE5 protocols actually manifesting themselves and working. And, trance states, being able to go into trance through meditation, etc. I do write afterwards and such, but I'm not channeling or anything like that. And the way that I found to serve was just to, further connect the people that I know that I know they have good intentions. I know that they are doing this work, that they have taken that same trust fall that I've taken, that they are all in on the new earth. They are all in on upgrading the collective. They're all in on, well, it's kind of been trademarked now, I guess, but all shift happily now, to be corny, but that's really what we're doing, right? We're all shifting happily now. That's kind of the point. Cliches become cliches for a reason.
For sure.
So I'm curious, a little bit, can you tell me a little bit about Althea before she was a light language healer? Were you always, did you always know you had intuitive abilities? Were you always receiving downloads and things like that? Or was there a typical process of the dark night of the soul and a different person before Althea had her quote awakening? Or can you give us a little bit of that for the show?
Yeah, I think a bit of both. I mean, I always had psychic intuition. I started doing prophetic dreaming when I was like maybe 6 or 7 years old. I would see beings. I was one of those kids who would like see ghosts and like would tell my parents that I couldn't sleep and they wouldn't believe me. Like now they do because I'm a psychic for a living. And now they're very apologetic. Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I was like, yeah, it was actually real,
It's all come true. Yeah.
And I come from a lineage of witches. My mom's got psychic and prophetic dreaming and intuition, and so did my grandmother. They're not psychics for a living, but the women in my family are all psychically very in tune and very aware.
They're very intuitive women.
Yeah, so cool. That was kind of that for all my life. I mean, as young as I can remember, I was operating in the astral and like fighting demons and doing exorcisms and things like that at like 12 and 13 years old. And then I would wake up and be like, in the way that I could understand it back then, because I grew up Christian Catholic, but they weren't like strict. It was just kind of like, I grew up too. Yeah. Every now and then like Christmas, we'd go to church and there was like to study a little bit of religion every now and then, like in school, but it wasn't like implemented, like I didn't do baptism, and it wasn't anything. It was just a little bit of I would say general knowledge, but it didn't really affect my life. But it gave me the conscious awareness to be able to actually do what I did in astral. So I had that. I had quite a lot of intense experiences in my mid-20s. So around 2017, 2018, I had very intense activations. I saw beings. I had really traumatic experiences during my Saturn return as well. And then that kind of catapulted everything. I started with my Reiki training when I was in my early 20s. So that was kind of like what really opened me up, because I got my first attunement. And then, I was always in contact with that. I had a really wonderful Reiki master that followed me for a few years. And she helped a lot in forming my training as an energy operator, And then, with the pandemic, I had a studio before that, a Reiki studio. And then I moved everything online, and I was reading light language. I started posting videos in 2017 of light language. When I started doing that, there were probably 10 light language channelers online. It really was not a big thing. There were not a lot of people doing it.
Hashtag light language had like less than 1,000 followers or whatever. Now it's a big hashtag.
Yeah, now it's it's like you can see how it grew exponentially. So I think that's beautiful and wonderful. So yeah, so I moved everything more online and I started working with the online community and things like that. But I think, yeah, it's really important. Like for me, my first training and my first understanding and my first activations were all in person. And I think because I had that basis of knowledge, I was able to confidently move my business online and still operate, from that space of unconditional love. So now I do a bit of both. I'll do in person and I'll do online as well, which I love because there's variety. You can work from anywhere in the world, but also if you choose to
Absolutely.
anchor physically, you can do that as well. So I guess, yeah, that's kind of like a little bit of my story.
That's thank you so much for sharing that. And it's so interesting because, a lot of people, it's interesting to hear from someone like yourself who was having those experiences, at the age of 6 or 7, etc. And then, of course, even then, still, there's humble origin in the story. You don't come off as arrogant at all, because on one hand, you had those psychic abilities and you knew it when you were a child, but in your early 20s, you still have the humility to go and seek a master, go seek somebody that had done more, had received the attunements and the certifications and really ran the gamut in your example, Reiki. And I think that's awesome that you didn't just dive in and go with your own thing. You stayed humble and you learned from those who, received downloads prior to you. And it seems like you've built something amazing out of that. So congratulations to you. That's great. And also, I think it's great that you're one of the ones who, because you were probably born with these types of abilities and things like that, rather than, although it seems like you sought them and watered that seed. And I'm so glad that you did, because you're here now and you're who you are today. But, some people maybe aren't born, knowing that from the age of 6 or 7. Maybe it takes them until their early 20s to just finally even have that download or be open to having those thoughts and experiences. So I think that's amazing. I think people like you are the reason that we have. You said you mentioned earlier that you help other people to become light workers, other people to develop their own gifts, develop their own light language, their own things like that. And that's what we need. We need people to pass their gifts on. We need that. We need that community, and it's amazing. It's awesome that you can do everything online. I always was a little bit suspect before I started doing this show so often about online energy work and grid work, but I can attest to it, and my viewers would be able to attest to it as well. I've mentioned it many times. I've felt the energy work from others through, and I don't believe that it makes any difference of what distance we are at. I mean, we're quantumly all in the same web. It's very complicated, but I've as a layperson, as somebody who does not practice energy healing, I have felt the effects of energy healing and Reiki completely remote, and not even in full session settings, just in example and showcase settings, just small samples of those things. So I just, for everyone out there, and I'll tell you, what you do is, I agree. It most certainly can be done from anywhere. It can be done online. And of course, you travel a lot, which is awesome. That means you're wanted. That means you're desired in different places. So you can travel and you can do that work and healing on people, but you can also be doing it in person wherever you are. To me, that's the walking definition of a light worker. That's the walking definition of, that's the beacon of light. That's what we're supposed to do. You're doing your part, and I'm just happy to have you on. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So Costa Rica, are you going to be, I think you mentioned cacao. Pardon me if I forgot the others, but are you going to be incorporating any kind of like plant medicine or anything like that into your retreat there?
So just hape, which is sacred shamanic tobacco, and some cacao.
Okay.
I don't use anything else. It's just not in my line of work at this moment in time. Firmly believe in self-empowerment, and the people generally that work with me are people who have already gone beyond needing the assistance of very intense whether it's psychedelic medicine or things
Yeah,
like that,
kind of
So
they're
I don't really
catalysts.
use it. Yeah, I don't really use it in my work, but I have colleagues who use it, and it's amazing and it's beautiful, and
Yeah.
everyone has their own tools, So for me, yeah, these are the tools that I'll be working with in Costa Rica. It will be the hape, which is the shamanic tobacco, and the cacao as well, with the heart opening, but nothing else. Yeah.
So the hape, I've heard of, different shamanic tobaccos. That's very cool. I know a lot's been done to, modern tobacco and what's mass produced and such. Cacao, obviously, everybody's heard of cacao. Can you let us, I don't know if it's a secret or anything, but what are you going to be doing with cacao? Can you give us a little secret sauce on what's, some of the healing powers of cacao? What do you use it for?
Yeah, definitely big heart opener. So I'm gonna see and get divinely guided closer to the time on what day to use it, in what circumstance, whether it'll be at the
Hmm.
waterfall or in the forest or in the workshop space. Like, I haven't really decided yet, and it would be impossible to say just because of the timeline change, but it'll definitely
Right.
be a day that will be themed within the heart opening and the expression and the anchoring of the unconditional love for the self and
I
for
can
others.
And I suppose it would depend on the energy and who's there and what kind of energy they're bringing to the
Yeah,
to the.
it'll be optional. People don't have to take it if they don't want to. So it'll just be, yeah, available.
Interesting, very cool, just interesting. Um, it's funny, something that you mentioned, just kind of briefly in speech. You mentioned dragons, and it's something that in my delve in this, I've been dancing around this whole quote spiritual community for quite some time, and I've met a lot of people and I've experienced a lot of things. Something that I find interesting personally is dragons, and you said something about dragons when you were talking about working with energy lines and grid work and things like that. um what's the metaphorical significance of dragons right now? I'm seeing, me and myself personally, I'm seeing recurring themes of dragons. I'm seeing videos about dragons. I'm picking up on it when people say the word dragon. I'm noticing things like the dragon in the Chinese zodiac, and why is that the only animal that's not there? Um, Dragons. And I hear people talk about dragon DNA and such. Could you tell me a little bit about, when people are speaking about dragon DNA and things like that? Like, what exactly are people talking about when they say that?
So first of all, I think we are in the year of the dragon. So obviously that, plays a role. Second of all, remember, your reality is what you choose to create. So if at this moment in time you're getting pulled to focus on dragons, then that is what you're going to see on a day-to-day
Of course.
basis, within your reality. Having said that, so I do dragon body activation, which means I activate the DNA within the system and within the quantum realm and within the light body of the individual and of the client. It goes quite well with the hape. I think the two go hand in hand, but it's not really necessary. So that is what I will be doing within the Costa Rica retreat. Um,
Very cool.
it's different for everyone. Some people have had lives within the dragon realm. Some people have, dragon beings that work with them consistently. I generally tend to see them a lot in the sky. They are here. They're just operating on a high vibrational frequency dimension, which is lighter. So it's not really solid like you would experience it
Right.
now. And I find that dragons really assist when it comes to calling on boundaries, cutting through what isn't truthful, and just really setting kind of like that clear pathway and that example and that clarity. So if you're struggling with any of those things, you cannot call upon the Dragon Collective. I personally have a few different ones that I work with. I've got a dragon which resembles a phoenix that I work with, and I've got a blue and a green one that I work together with as well. I had a lifetime where I was a humanoid being birthing dragon eggs. So I mean, there's quite like a vast array of information out there on the dragons. People have had different experiences with them. I can say that they are very powerful. I wouldn't say they are, they kind of compassionate. I wouldn't say they are very playful. They're more like cutting to the chase of what is needed done.
Okay.
That's the kind of energy that I've worked with and that I've picked up and felt from
That,
the
that
dragons. But
almost gave me
anyone
goosebumps.
with them,
You're
yeah,
so dead
yeah.
on.
Yeah. There you go.
Like, I really am in that spot. Like, yeah, of course, I really believe in, the law of attraction and manifestation, and, thoughts become our reality. And yeah, of course, seeing and having that download of dragons and just noticing it more, very intently listening to people and in conversation. But I just happen to hear the word dragon at a 10x volume for some reason. So of course I'm looking for it. But it's so interesting that you say, one, that it's, of course, something along the lines of the year of the dragon, and two, that metaphorically that represents boundaries, cutting to the chase, getting to the path, etc. I mean, in my personal life right now, and I don't delve into, the ongoings of my personal relationships too much on air, but I am going through a lot of change right now. Like, that's absolutely the case. I am 100% in a position of, like, I need to draw lines. I need to kind of set some boundaries. I'm constantly not doubting or wondering. I'm pretty sure of myself, but I do have that wonder of, am I on the right path? That 1% thing. And it's just kind of gave me a little goosebumps when you said that, because that's pretty much the theme of what's going on with me just personally, on a little personal note right now. A little bit of,
Yeah.
whenever we have a big change in our life, of course, you have to set new boundaries, you have to set new limits, you have to make your paradigm work with your new reality. And that's what I mean. I'm not going through anything terrible, guys, just so I don't want anybody to worry. But yeah, when you make changes, you have to set boundaries. And it's interesting that you say dragons represent that. It's almost like you're a psychic or something, I'll tell you.
Who would have told, eh? Who would have said?
Who would have thought? I don't know a whole lot about my past lives personally, although I did have a past life regression done last week. And it was funny. I had the whole thing recorded, and I thought it lasted 30 minutes or so. It's a 2.5-hour video, and I'm in trance the whole time.
The Dolores
Yeah,
well, is that long, yeah. It's between 2.5 and 3 hours.
So it actually was not the Dolores Cannon method. It was something based off of it, but it was not technically the QHHT. But yeah, I was in trance for a good 2 hours, and I said a lot. And, I was talking about being in the hollow earth, and I was talking about Lemuria and the Western United States when it was just filled with forest. But it's all very, like, I've watched the video a few times now to kind of reassess it, but I've only delved into that once with a true practitioner of hypnosis, QHHT, past life regression, any of that stuff. That was the first time I did like a full session like that. And of course, like I said, I do meditate and I go into trance pretty heavily, pretty often. But when I go into trance, I don't get downloads of past lives. I get clarity on potential future timelines. I get clarity on the now. I get to experience being out of body. I get to experience being a being without matter. And really reminding myself that I'm in the now, but I never come back with any past life memories.
Have you asked? Have you asked to have memory of past lives?
I seem kind of silly for saying this, but I guess, I probably really never have truly asked with like real intention before going into meditation for that. I will ask to go and have a connection with spirit, but I guess I keep it too vague.
Also ask before going to sleep. Before you go to sleep, ask, and then they can come through like that as well. But generally, if you're already having psychic vision and intuition, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to get downloads of your past, parallel, and previous lifetimes. You must just ask.
That's right there. I'm like, if I can see forward, why can't I see backwards? But we all know it's not just forward and backwards. It's so much more complicated than that. That's why it's so much fun. Yeah, but it was just very interesting to me to see that, like, wow, like, I actually thought that was 30 minutes and it really was a 2-hour trance. And apparently I talked about my name that I had. I talked about the clothes that I was wearing. The hypnotist, she claimed that it was likely Lemuria, Hollow Earth, etc. It was just very, very wild, like, for the first time of doing that, even to somebody like myself who's very open to it. It's just interesting when people like yourself have so much insight into past lives, and The other thing that I think is interesting is I think a lot of people think of time as linear. Of course, past lives would just be previous reincarnation after previous reincarnation after incarnation. That's not really how it works, is it? I mean, some of these past lives, they're kind of happening all at the same time, and such, in different timelines and different dimensions, etc. It's really quite more complicated than just a linear past life versus future. Am I correct?
Yes, that's from my understanding as well.
Yeah. Just constantly, always trying to wrap our heads around that, but that's what this is all about. I mean, I'm big into the disclosure side of things, and asking and answering those questions. And when you ask the why and you get the answer, well, then ask why again. Kind of like back to being 4-year-old Tyler. Just keep asking why and why and why and why. But it's funny, when you're a 4-year-old, you're bothering your parents with why. They give you some satisfying answers, so you go away. But now I've been asking why for like 5 straight years, and I'm just still asking why with the most rigor and just so excited all the time to just find out the next why. And I don't know where it's going to be or where I'm going to be looking, but it's like today it's in South Africa with Althea, and it's a great way to it's a great way to live. I can't unlearn, I can't unsee. Since I woke up, I hate to use those labels and phrases, but since I had that kind of process of awakening, wasn't an overnight thing. I spent a good year or two just kind of not knowing what I was doing at all before just kind of hopping out into the public and hopping back online and being like, hi, you guys like the weather? Like not really knowing what to do. But now I just have this zest for life, even if bad things happen. I mean, I've actually had a rather crazy year so far. My mother passed away about 6 weeks ago. We've had some other family issues go on this year. It's been kind of like a rough, 3D lesson-y type of year for me and my family. But I've been walking through it, and I almost feel guilty not guilty, but, for just having such a smile and having such a overall positive disposition and attitude about things. But I don't feel guilty for it. I mean, it's just an absolute mind blow. It's an absolute paradigm shift. And I want other people to see that that's possible. That for everybody, that's possible. And I'm sure you know that as well. Working with your clients, I'm sure you've seen amazing transformations as far as just belief system goes. And that really changes a lot. Everything changed for me with my belief system. When I opened up myself to allowing my belief system to be changed, that's when everything else changed, because my thoughts changed. Is that kind of how you would approach how do you approach somebody who comes to you and is just totally lost?
I mean, I generally tend to work a lot with gratitude. So because gratitude and compassion are, really high vibrational frequency emotions and experiences, something as simple as telling someone to sit for 5 minutes in the emotion of gratitude every morning can see the biggest shift within their reality and lifetime. So it is about switching perception, but also doing it with cognizance, and also giving practical tools. This is where I come in. Yes, it's all nice and beautiful when we're operating in these, astral realms, but what is it to the now? What is to the present? Right. How can you implement this in your day-to-day life? And this is where I come in and I bridge and I give practical examples and things to do, whenever there's a trigger, or whenever there is a feeling of guilt or abandonment wound, or not feeling good enough, or a toxic detrimental union, or whatever it is. So it really depends to who I have in front of me, but I would say that gratitude is something that I give to everyone to do.
Yeah, okay, that's valid. And I ask just for others and myself. I mean, people come to me asking for advice, and I'm not trained. I'm not a healer. I don't claim to be, but I think we can all be healers. We're all here to help one another. That's, high tide, all boats rise. No man left behind. We could name a million little goofy phrases that sound good, but I don't think you need to be, registered with the state or whatever to help out your fellow man. People message me and ask me certain questions, and that's something that anybody can tell someone. Anybody can remind another person to start by reminding themselves what they're grateful for. Sit down, calm the mind, have think about what you're grateful for, what you just said there. That's a perfectly valid answer where you're not crossing any lines as far as telling somebody what to do medically or with their body or with their beliefs or anything. But it shows them with choice just to sit and think about the things that they're grateful for. And I've said it before, when I sit down and start making a quote gratitude list, I really can't stop. I mean, if I think about it, I could never stop. You can get so deep into detail on a gratitude list that, I mean, by the time that timer's gone off, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or the paper's empty, that you don't feel so ungrateful any longer. Possibilities open up in your mind, that mindset shifts, and wow, all of a sudden things are possible again.
Yeah, I think it's a very big program that society has, within this experience. It's the scarcity template and the not being good enough and the needing external validation and the needing external things to feel complete, and I think with the gratitude and anchoring into that emotion in every single moment, you're able to kind of like re-navigate into a space where you are operating from unconditional love and you understand that you are enough, and that you are everything that you need. And then when you're in that frequency, that's when you anchor into a frequency of abundance, because if you're grateful for everything you have, you attract more of what it is that you want. So it's like a big theme. I think this year a lot of scarcity templates are going to be clearing and releasing on a collective level, on an individual level, but for sure, yeah, definitely, again, gratitude. And I myself remind myself every morning, just to be grateful. And as you said, make a gratitude list. It can be as simple as being grateful for, your legs because they can walk, your eyes because they can see. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic,
It
just
can be really broad.
Emotion, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just wonderful. That's the sauce. The secret sauce is really not just the start to the best self, the best version of ourselves that we're all seeking in modern society is actually, it's just that first step. And it can start with simple gratitude. I mean, gratitude, I've always heard that authenticity is the most powerful human emotion, but I don't know that gratitude's an emotion, but I think it's probably quite right up there. And I think gratitude is tied right in with being authentic. I mean,
authenticity to me would be a mixture of different emotions. It wouldn't be just one. It would be, your truth. It would be being grateful mixed with being present, exactly. Being anchored. So, I would see it in that way. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I was kind of thinking it's not the best example, but yeah, gratitude. It's, people say love is the answer. Well, we could say gratitude's the answer. Not a terrible idea. I forgot to ask you at the Starseed conference. I took a little bit of a peek at the schedule earlier. What exactly is going to be your role there that day? That's coming up. That 7/7 day. What's the specific that time slot that you're filling that day?
Yeah. So I'm going to be sitting in panel where we're going to have some questions, some galactic questions, some DNA activations. We're going to be interacting with the public as well. And then I'll also be holding a light language circle. I am one of the organizers too, so I will probably do a little bit of an opening ceremony led by my dear colleague Flo, and Karen will be there as well. So there's 3 of us that are organizing. And then I'll just be around the whole day to just connect and speak and interact and just be present with the people that are there.
That's amazing. And that's Flo Karuna, correct? He's the organizer.
Yeah.
Starseed. Yeah, he's on Instagram. He's got quite a large page. Yeah. I recently spoke with Debbie Solaris. Ishmael Perez was here a couple of weeks ago. Natalie Nadine came on, did a little bit of her light language, and they all kind of spoke a little bit about their individual roles within the conference. So I just thought I would ask you the very same question, of course. You all are very similar, but you all are very unique, and just like all of us. I mean, we're amazing, all of us. I think humans are just such an amazing meat suit of us. We're such amazing meat suits with souls inside of them. We have such an amazing experience that we downplay it too much. I mean, we get down on ourselves, and I'm guilty of it, that we track what we think, and, we get down on ourselves. I get down on myself about a bad situation, and things only get worse. If I stay grateful, then things tend to only get better.
For sure.
It really all starts with that. And as, that goes back to, I remember I asked Ishmael Perez, what was the difference in his eyes now in, this whole kind of ascension movement and awakening, just the movement of disclosure, awakening, ascension, etc. That large umbrella, now versus back in the time when he was first, when he was younger and he was first coming into these ideas and really starting to, find himself. And one of the main things that he had mentioned was just a lot of anger at the beginning, because he was just misunderstanding the systems and realizing that there was such a paradigm shift. Yeah. So Althea's role on 7/7 is just as important as everybody's there. I hope to see some of you guys there. 7/7, July 7th, 2024, San Diego, California. Starseed Conference. It's in person. Althea is going to be there. Flo Karuna, shout out to him. We just mentioned him. He's the organizer. Shout out to Ishmael Perez, Debbie Polaris, Natalie Nadine for being on the show, and everybody else who's going to be at the conference. But my biggest personal shout out is just to the fact that this year's Starseed Conference is in person. I'm going to keep saying it. Say it every episode. It shows massive growth. It's a huge deal. In person. We're out there. We're mixing energies. Althea, it's been great speaking with you today. I know we've done a little bit of a short episode. We had a little technical difficulty at the beginning, but, we strive through and we get things done and make it fun anyway. Would you do me the honor of maybe showcasing some of your light language here on the Immersive podcast?
Sure. You can just start by closing your eyes.
Absolutely.
Anchoring as you find a comfortable breathing rhythm. With every inhale, you breathe in light. And with every exhale, you release all that doesn't serve you anymore. As you relax the body, the system, the energy field. Stay in a space of openness, in a space of oneness. And as we call on the Archangelic Collective, Michael to the south, Uriel to the north, Raphael to the east, and Gabriel to the west, we call on Archangel Metatron with his blue cloak of protection from above, and Sandalphon to seal the grid from below. As we call on the higher selves of spirit guides, anyone else who wishes to be present, who the greatest and highest good, you're welcome in the space. Opening, expanding, pulling in divine arrays, opening, anchoring, releasing, letting go, clean, releasing, calling, detangling, dismantling, all limiting beliefs, letting go, more light, divine rays, anchoring, raskitaka, renati koro iseraki, para iaishea, expanding, attuning systems, attuning, releasing more light, divine rays, anchoring, angelic rays, aura rays, rainbow rays, platinum rays, golden rays, white light, calling in, anchoring, quantum upgrades, angelic rays coming in, anchoring, attuning, expanding into more light, opening structures, the core, anchoring, more light, attuning, expanding, connecting systems, activating, releasing overthinking, limiting beliefs, releasing, clearing cranial structure, peripheral, anchoring, aurora rays, anchoring, tuning nervous systems, activating, releasing circulation of blood, anchoring into the now, into the present moment, anchoring, closing, sealing, anchoring. And if you're ready, you can anchor out, open your eyes, anchor back to the now.
The microphone's always in my face when I open my eyes. Althea, that was amazing.
Thank you.
I don't know if your eyes were open because mine were closed, but like, okay, so I used to think light language was like, I never bashed it, but I was like, I don't get it. I don't know. But I mean, I can't deny something that I'm not saying this for the show, but I don't know if anybody's watching or how close people can see me when that stuff's going on, but it produces involuntary physical responses in my body. Of course, I feel amazing, by the way. You can actually feel thoughts and beliefs that you don't want leave universe. Your quanta, they're gone. They leave at the speed of quanta. They are gone as fast as they came. But the real, like, holy, pardon my French, with the light language thing, since, I have been really involved. My involvement in the disclosure and New Earth world it started with, like, UFO disclosure and working with MUFON and things like that. So it wasn't the light language side of things. It was more like government disclosure. Light language came a little bit later. But now, I mean, after having it done on me a few times, Althea, I mean, bless you for what you do. It's amazing. For anybody out there who thinks, what is he doing? Why is he doing this? This is the, I think, third, maybe fourth time we've done light language on this show. It's been different every time, and it's been stronger and more impactful on me every time. So this is just a personal testimonial for anybody who happens to believe a word that I say. Thoughts manifest beliefs, and they manifest your reality. But I had goosebumps. My muscles were spasming when she was doing that work, and now let's just say I feel different, and I hope to go about the way.
So the light language is great. That's for the individual. It can take a few hours, a few days. So just rest, integrate, drink lots of water. Just be in a space of objective observation. If old emotions come up, if you start to, navigate the astral and have things come up as well, if you get triggered more easily, if you don't want to be around people, if you feel like you need to eat more, sleep more, rest more, like everyone responds differently, but it's all very much, in alignment with the own individual experience.
I'm sure. I mean, I can only speak from my experience. That's true. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Althea, for sharing that with me, with us, for anybody who was listening. Thank you so much for all the time and all the effort you put into, perfecting. You're always growing. We're always evolving, but for perfecting your craft, for perfecting what you do, for just being the light that you are. And I can't say that's my job. I'm the bridge. I'm here to tell people that, hey, sorry, light language works. You have to believe in it, but you don't have to, people go through hell. People put themselves through so much trying to, change something in their life, change something that might be as simple as removing a limiting belief. Just using that single example. Open your mind up to things. Yeah, open your mind up to things like light language. Althea's got to go. This is Tyler, the Immersive Podcast. Althea, do you want to say anything before you sign off?
Yeah, like, guys, just stay in your heart, and if something feels off and you're not too sure, listen to the body, listen to the somatic response. The body knows. If the mind is struggling, turn to the body, and just lead by example. Don't try to overcomplicate things, and always go back to the heart and to gratitude.
Well said. Altea's links and everything will be in the bio, so you can find her very easily if you want to book one-on-one sessions, if you want to go to any of her events, any of her retreats, if you want to just follow her on Instagram. All of that stuff will be in the bio of this video, and it will be very easy to find. So thank you again, Altea. Hopefully I will see you at the Starseed conference, and maybe we'll speak before then. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for coming on the Immersive podcast.